The Killer Clown and the Puppet Master. Today we're going to be talking about the show Twin Peaks and how it actually parallels with the real-life account of serial killer clown John Wayne Gacy. So Twin Peaks is a show that was made in the 1990s, and I'm going to briefly read to you a summary about it. A crime drama mixed with a healthy dose of surreal. This series is about FBI agent Dale Cooper, who travels to the small logging town of Twin Peaks to solve the murder of seemingly innocent high schooler Laura Palmer. Almost nothing is as it seems, however the show's sometimes eerie visuals, oddball characters, and wild dream sequences drive the point home. So in the show Twin Peaks, there's a character named Bob, and he's an interdimensional entity who feeds on the pain and sorrow. He's an inhabiting spirit. He possesses human beings and then commits awful acts such as murder in order to feast upon his victims. And this interdimensional entity resides in another dimension known as the Red Room. So yeah, the Red Room is this extra dimensional space where the possessing spirit or demon Bob resides in, and he possesses people to do wicked things, and he feeds off the trauma that he causes. Now, interesting thing about this Red Room, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, you can see these zigzag black and white patterns. I've talked about this a bunch of times before, but when many people partake in psychedelics, often they claim to be in this other dimension, kind of like the Red Room, where they can see zigzag black and white patterns all around. And I made a whole video about this called the Zigzag Dimension, so if you're interested in knowing more about the Zigzag Dimension, go check it out. But long story short, when people partake in psychedelics, many of them claim that they ended up in this other dimension, and everywhere they see these zigzag-like patterns. Now, another interesting thing about these patterns, in the music industry, it appears that many artists are obsessed with this pattern. In fact, Young Thug had a whole music video dedicated to the Red Room from Twin Peaks. Now, why would he dedicate a music video to a show about a possessing spirit that lives in an alternate dimension that possesses people to do wicked things? So again, time after time, you see musicians obsessed with this pattern. But yeah, that's the basic premise of the show Twin Peaks. There's a possessing evil spirit, his name is Bob, and he possesses people to do wicked things, and he feeds off that trauma. There's also a theory that says that the name Bob is actually short for Beelzebub, which was a demon that's mentioned in the Bible and was worshipped by pagans back in the day. And I mentioned this before too, I don't think movies and shows are often just movies and shows. I think there's more to them than just entertainment. Now, I believe David Lynch possibly might be aware of something or aware of the spiritual realm. Now, I believe the accounts of the show Twin Peaks actually parallels with the real life story of John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer who murdered about 33 young men and boys between the late 1960s and the late 1970s, or all throughout the 70s. He murdered around 33 boys and he buried them under his house. Now, John Wayne Gacy had many aliases such as Pogo the Clown, the Killer Clown, Johnny, Colonel, Sissy. So growing up, John Wayne Gacy had a really rough childhood, and he endured a difficult relationship with his father, an alcoholic who was very physically abusive to his family. His father also belittled him, often calling him dumb and stupid and comparing him unfavorably with his sisters. And apparently one of Gacy's earliest memories was of his father beating him with a leather belt for accidentally disarranging components of a car engine he had assembled. So that's kind of John Wayne Gacy's childhood. So yeah, all throughout his childhood, he would always get beat, always get belittled. So he went through a lot of trauma as a child. So yeah, John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer who murdered 33 young men and boys and done other horrific stuff to them. And Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo the Clown, or Patches the Clown persona he had devised. He became known as the Killer Clown due to his public service as a clown prior to the discovery of his crime. So out of his 33 victims, about 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 others were buried elsewhere on his property. 4 were discarded in the Des Plaines River. All of Gacy's murders, he committed them in Chicago. So now back to the show Twin Peaks and the possessing spirit Bob in that show. Why do I believe it parallels with this real life account? Because John Wayne Gacy claimed that he had alter egos, and he claimed that he doesn't remember most of the murders that he's done. And he said he had an alter ego named Jack Hanley, and that Jack was responsible for a lot of these murders. He also had an alter ego called Pogo the Clown. Pogo the Clown was apparently Gacy backsliding to a childhood he likely felt deprived of, and bringing joy to the lives of others was self-soothing for him. But the Pogo personality was pretty evil too, and he couldn't help letting this mask slip up, revealing the true evil hidden underneath. In fact, during some of his interviews, he actually had a very terrifying quote, and he said a clown can get away with murder. In 1975, John Wayne Gacy created his own alter ego as Pogo the Clown. He designed the clown outfit and makeup himself, although he was advised by other clowns at the Jolly Joker Club he joined not to paint on such a sharp smile as it would scare the children. Gacy would attend kids' parties for the Easter holidays, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. He never accepted any money for his services. So yeah, another thing to mention about John Wayne Gacy, his home looked very strange. So when police found his house, they found like zigzag patterns adorned on Gacy's wall, making for an unsettling sight standing out on a completely black background. And I'm going to show you a few pictures right here. So yeah, all across his room, he had this bizarre wallpaper with zigzags all across. And he also had clown paintings all throughout the room.
And we could tell that he was marching to a different drummer, because the paint job, for example, the hall was painted brown and then had like a zigzag gold lines going up and down through it. I mean, it was really weird. Clown pictures were everywhere. He had one right over his bed.
Many of these clown paintings were placed on dark paneled walls, which seemed to give the impression of a much smaller enclosed space. The clowns gazed sinisterly down on visitors to the house, many of them enduring torture and pain before being brutally murdered by Gacy. So yeah, all across his house you see clown paintings, you see the zigzag wallpaper, and this is all very interesting. As I stated before, many people who try psychedelics, they claim that it was like a gateway to this other dimension. Many people who have partaken in powerful psychedelics like DMT, ayahuasca, salvia, claim that they ended up in this other dimension with zigzags all around. And on top of that, when people partake in things like DMT, they claim to see jesters and clown entities. So it's an interesting connection that people see these entities when they partake in psychedelics, and they see the zigzag pattern, just like John Wayne Gacy's home is adorned with the zigzag pattern and the clown paintings. So that's one of the reasons I think there's a parallel between the show Twin Peaks, where there is this other dimension and this possessing spirit named Bob, with the real life accounts of serial killer clown John Wayne Gacy. Maybe there's a reason he was obsessed with clowns and the zigzag pattern, which you can find all across his home. What if, just like the show Twin Peaks, he's also being possessed by a possessing spirit? And what if that's the case for many serial killers, that they're actually possessed by many possessing spirit, which feeds off the pain and sorrow that they cause people? It appears to be that trauma is one of the ways they take over their victims. Maybe that's why the Bible says to not give in to fear, and that fear is not a spirit from God, but it's from somewhere else. But yeah, guys, all very interesting. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon and other links. All the support is definitely appreciated. But please let me know all your thoughts and comments below. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think the show Twin Peaks has a bit of truth to it? Do you think it parallels to the account of John Wayne Gacy and many other accounts of serial killers? Is there some kind of connection? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we're out.